Chapter 138. The referee took 2 deep breaths, withdrew his hand and asked, "Do you have any questions?" Chiu Yang had recovered from his confusion. Looking at his and Lu Cheng's still clenched fists and stiff postures, he had a rough idea of what had happened just now. When he jumped out of the trap, his opponent seized the opportunity. He was very sullen, very depressed, and very much wanted to vent, very much wanted to roar, but the main source of the matter was still his own mistake. He was complacent in the well-designed trap, but neglected that the other side could also be paralyzed by his right hand, just like him. He couldn't find anyone to blame, and there was no reason to quibble. He wanted to beat the referee, but he knew the gap between them was too big. He couldn't beat the referee, so he could only hold back his anger and said, "I have no problem." Lu Cheng also figured out what was going on. He sighed inwardly that his thinking was really starting to become sluggish and he didn't react in time. He held back his laughter and said, "I also have no problem." Of course, he had no problem. If he continued to fight, his brain would become numb and his reaction would be slow. It was perfect to fight to a draw and win the final victory. One must know one's limits. While speaking, he secretly imagined that he had won because he had the Jin Dan hidden in his lower abdomen. If he was hit by the crushing punch, it might react and save him from injury. However, this was just a fantasy. Who knew if the reaction of the Jin Dan would directly burn and freeze him, just like the dead black carp? Compared to the emotional outburst in ecstasy when he defeated Wei Xingtian, Lu Cheng's joy was very mild, because he couldn't be excited even if he wanted to. His body hadn't reached its limit, but his spirit was exhausted. Like a martial artist who had gone through a marathon hard battle, how could he have the strength and passion to crazily celebrate the victory? He just needed to quietly enjoy it. This was truly a long, arduous, and tragic match. The audience in the stands also did not immediately react to what had happened. They did not understand why it was a tie all of a sudden. Some of them were blocked by the referee who was very close to the scene of the incident. Some of them did not see clearly because the 2 sides were too close and the punch was too fast. When the big screens hanging in different parts of the martial arts arena began to replay the scene in slow motion again and again from various angles, they realized that both sides had chosen to activate their injured arms at the same time to seize the opponent's flaw and create a situation where both sides were injured. A punch to the lower abdomen did not necessarily result in death, nor did it necessarily result in disability. In fact, martial artists could shrink their abdomen in time to avoid the most severe injuries, but after being hit, they would collapse on the spot and curl up on the ground. There was no problem with the referee stopping the fight in time. However, a draw would mean that their own team had lost the match. They had lost a match that they had originally thought to be in the bag. The audience fell into silence once again. It was an extremely oppressive silence. They felt that all their enthusiasm and expectations had gone down the drain. All their longing for release and ecstasy had been eaten by dogs. Disappointment, anger, and unwillingness quickly brewed in his heart. Lu Cheng enjoyed the silence and felt that it was no less than the cheers of the home audience. Then he heard the referee announce loudly, "A tie." Fighters from both sides leave the arena. He exhaled and glanced at Chiu Yang, who had restrained his madness and unwillingness. He saluted with his hands folded, turned around easily, and walked out of the arena. This guy was too smart for his own good. He would probably regret it for a long time. Just thinking of this made him feel F***ing good. You guys are so shameless to be the substitutes. Alas, after all, I am not a saint. I will be angry at the enemy's provocation. I will bear a grudge against the abuse that insults my family and the girl I love. I can't help but fight back. I will want to vent my inner feelings. I will also gloat at the enemy's self-righteousness. I am such a person with many shortcomings. I am not tolerant enough and broad-minded enough. Well, after reviewing, I will continue to feel good secretly. Ah, this is really good. Qiu Yang's left arm hung down and his right fist clenched tightly. He took 2 deep breaths to prevent himself from going crazy on the spot. He gritted his teeth and walked down the stairs. He felt ashamed to face his parents and couldn't lift his head for a moment. The referee warmed up his old arms and legs and waved to the Songqing University Martial Arts Club. He said loudly, "The third fighter." Ah. Sun Jian was still immersed in the surprise of a tie and the joy of winning the match. At this moment, he was a little confused. After a few seconds, he suddenly came to himself and pointed to himself, saying loudly, "Do I still need to fight?" "Well, the rules are set." The referee replied. "Well." Sun Jian stood up from his seat and walked down the stairs to meet Lu Qing, who was coming back. Seeing that they were about to meet, he raised his right hand and tried to high-five Lu Qing to celebrate. Lu Qing wanted to respond, but when he moved his right arm, he felt a sharp pain and had to give up. His left hand was not in the right position, so it was very awkward to high-five. So he could only look at Sun Jian with a bitter smile. Sun Jian suddenly realized. He quickly clenched his right hand into a fist and gave a thumbs up. "Awesome! I'm sincerely convinced by you." "You sound like you were not convinced before," Lu Qing criticized in his heart. He nodded with a smile and joked, "So this counts as fighting, right?" Sun Jian suddenly fell into deep confusion. Does this count as fighting or not? When Lu Qing returned to the seats of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, Yanjika had already stood up and greeted him. She asked happily and worriedly, "Are you okay? How's your injury?" "It was okay at the beginning, but now it seems to be a little worse," Lu Qing answered honestly. At the same time, he saw Li Mao, Guiqing, and Li Xiaowen applauding and giving him thumbs up. Even Lin Ke nodded his head slightly. Yanjika glanced at him. Her eyes were bright and full of emotions. "Who asked you to be brave?" She stretched out her hands and checked Lu Cheng's injury through his clothes. Lu Cheng grimaced in pain and said in a low voice, "If I don't act brave, I'll lose. I'm almost exhausted. If Qiu Yang makes a killing move again, I won't be able to block it." Yanjika opened her clear eyes and asked curiously, "Is this the limit of your physical strength?" "The limit of my energy. I can still fight with my physical strength." Lu Qing smiled and said, "Actually, Dong Yi and Qiu Yang both lost because they didn't know me well. If Dong Yi could hold on for one more round, I wouldn't be able to suppress him. He didn't need to exchange a big injury for a small one. As for Qiu Yang, he was too impatient. If he fought with me for one more minute, I wouldn't be able to hold on." Unfortunately, both of them realized that they couldn't wait for my limit, so they took a more radical approach. There was a certain difference between the two fights. Dong Yi might not be able to hold on for one round of brutal blizzard. The winner was still unknown. Qiu Yang, on the other hand, would definitely lose as long as he was patient and didn't rush to attack. Yanjika smiled and said, "The advantage of asymmetrical information is also an advantage. Anyway, you haven't shown your limit yet. You can use this to influence your opponent in the future." Then she breathed a sigh of relief and said, "You don't have a big injury on your bones. I'll have to ask Coach Shi about it." Geezer Shi smiled and said, "Are you done whispering sweet nothings to each other? You finally remember this old man?" Yanjika suddenly blushed and turned her head to the side. She bit her lower lip with her white and neat teeth. Lu Qing could only laugh awkwardly and didn't know what to say. Geezer Shi was satisfied with his own humor. He looked at Lu Qing and said, "Your fascia and muscles are injured. I guess you need to rest for a while. Let's go back to the locker room and do a detailed examination." Coach, you can see that." Lu Qing was shocked. Is this X-ray vision? Geyser said unhappily. Haven't you heard of the enemy freezing heart move? You moved your right arm within 5 meters of me and affected the muscles and fascia there. If I didn't feel it, I would have wasted my years of martial arts training. Oh, so it's the upgraded application of the ice mirror. Lu Qing suddenly realized. He was more and more afraid of the ability of a high-ranked fighter. At this time, Geyser reached out and quickly patted Lu Cheng's wound. Yanjike and Lu Qing were scared, but they didn't have time to stop him. With a cold feeling, Lu Qing felt the pain in his wound was relieved a lot. Although it was still difficult for him to use force, at least he felt more normal. Thank you, coach. Lu Qing resisted the urge to call him teacher. Yanjike woke up and said angrily, Coach Shi, why didn't you say hello first? Scared to death. At this time, Sun Jian stood beside the referee and looked at him. He raised his right hand and said, the final round, Songqing University Martial Arts Club wins. Sun Jian was confused and sluggish. He couldn't help but think, I'm just going on stage to put on a show. The announcement of the result of the match suddenly woke up all the spectators from their silence. Some were cheering loudly for their own team members, some were screaming because of extreme disappointment, and some were angry and kept cursing their own team members and the Songqing University Martial Arts Club members. The scene became chaotic and a little hysterical. Not everyone could accept failure so generously. Seeing this, the staff immediately rushed to the seats of the Songqing University Martial Arts Club and said anxiously, hurry up and go back to the locker room. 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. Get changed and leave immediately before they leave the stadium. Lu Qing and the others were planning to celebrate this hard-won victory in the locker room. Hearing this, they were all shocked and didn't say anything. After Sun Jian left, they immediately returned to the locker room, took a shower, changed into their normal clothes, and left through the side door with the staff. They boarded the bus that had been waiting for them. They didn't breathe a sigh of relief until the bus was far away from the stadium. Such an away game was horrible. Even in such a terrifying away game, the entire stadium was silenced by their own team. While feeling happy, Sun Jian smiled bitterly and said, it's a pity that I didn't have a real fight. Geyser had just finished checking Lu Cheng's wound. He laughed and said, there will be plenty of chances later. These two rascals won't recover in a short time. Lin Ke forced himself to use the yin-yang twist, so his joints are injured and his body is shaken. Not to mention the competition, he can't even practice in the next week. It will take at least 3 weeks for him to fully recover. As for Lu Qing, well, he could have recovered in a few days, but he forced himself to punch and aggravated his injury. It will take about 2 weeks for him to return to normal. The next match is our home ground. Our opponent is not strong. Sun Jian, Li Mao, and Lin Hua are the main force. Yanjike and Guiqing are the substitutes. P.S. I have something to do in the afternoon. The match in the evening is at 11 p.m. Chapter 139. As soon as Geyser made the announcement, Lu Qing felt Yanjike sitting up straight beside him. Her eyes were shining. She seemed a little excited and a little nervous. In case anyone felt unwell, she would be able to enter the arena. Seeing this, Lu Qing said half jokingly and half confusedly, Coach Shi, I'm only injured in my right arm. I can still fight. It's not a problem for me to bully amateur fighters. If I meet a professional 9th pin fighter, I can also hold my own. He had focused all his attention on Fearless Squad and didn't pay attention to the opponents in the next 2 rounds. He thought that no matter how weak they were, they couldn't be that weak. They should at least be a team of amateur first pin. Otherwise, wouldn't they be asking for humiliation in the preliminaries? Geyser chuckled and said, the opponents in the last 2 rounds are relatively weak, which is perfect for Sun Jian and Li Mao to practice. Even if they lose, it doesn't matter. We are here to increase our actual combat experience, not to advance. You have to give others a chance to grow, right? Besides, with your character and thirst for victory, when you really enter the arena, will you be able to resist not using your right hand at the crucial moment? Lu Qing felt a little guilty and could only laugh dryly. Geyser continued, saying earnestly, and after 2 weeks of 5 high-level actual combat, you also need some time to digest and avoid becoming impetuous. Another very important reason is that your martial arts style has not yet been finalized. Every intense battle will have a great impact on you, causing you to develop certain fighting habits. For a martial artist, not having a habit is the best habit. This requires you to accumulate a lot of experience in a short period of time before calming down and leaving the battle for a period of time. Then, you will examine yourself from a different perspective, analyze your problems, and overcome your habits. He used the word calm twice. Lu Qing felt that it was reasonable. He felt that a fighter with a good teacher would take less detours in the process of growth. These words made Yan Zheke and the others ponder. They connected with themselves and understood. It was not good to leave in a hurry. Seeing that everyone was thinking about his teachings, Geyser smiled proudly. Brat, today I will let you know what it means to be old and experienced. If I let you enter the arena, it is not impossible to advance in the group. When the time comes and you really fight for a place in the division and enter the second stage of the preliminaries in the second half of the year, what will you do? Aren't you slapping this old man's face? The carriage was quiet for a while. Seeing that they were getting closer and closer to Yimo Transit Station, everyone began to reminisce about the competition just now, as well as the hard-won harvest. We had to sacrifice 2 of our main forces in order to barely snatch victory from Yimo. It was truly bitter and difficult. Li Mao could not help but sigh. Gui Qing nodded in agreement. Isn't that so? Lin Ke and Qing were both very capable. They had managed to do the impossible. It's just that in the end, it felt like we were running away. You can't say that. Sun Jian immediately retorted and posed as if he was singing an opera. This is called playing the hero in Changban Slope, going in and out of 1,000,000 soldiers 7 times, and then retreating calmly after killing them all. His words immediately caused the crowd to burst into laughter. The atmosphere was joyous, filled with the joy of victory. In the live broadcast room of the TV station, the local host's face was ashen. He could not hide his depression and disappointment. He could only smile stiffly and say, "Xiao Wei, can you give us an analysis of the final tie?" Xiao Wei said excitedly, "This is my battle to establish my name. Didn't some people say that I'm a toxic healer? Look, didn't Fearless Squad also lose today? I predicted in advance that they would lose 99% of the time. That's why we shouldn't be superstitious. If you spread rumors again, be careful not to be struck by lightning." Alright, back to the topic. Let's look at the last part in slow motion. Were both sides synchronized? They both disregarded the consequences and used their injured hand, resulting in a lose-lose situation. However, I have to say that there is a difference between their seemingly identical actions. Qiu Yang actively created an opportunity to use his left hand, while Lu Qing passively reacted. In other words, Qiu Yang had carefully designed a trap with his injured arm from the beginning, waiting for Lu Qing to step into it. But, because he was too confident and proud of this, he neglected the possibility of his opponent risking his life. He failed to see Mount Tai and went for wool and came home shorn. When we were first challenged by the Songqing University Martial Arts Club, I bet that the Fearless Squad definitely looked down on them. They must have thought that since we have a professional 8th pin in the dance stage and 2 professional 9th pin masters, why would we be afraid of a bunch of immature kids? It's not a big deal to lose to Qiu Yang. In the end, everyone saw that even with Qiu Yang, they still lost to Songqing University Martial Arts Club and lost face. Of course, this can't be entirely their fault. Who would have thought that Songqing University's Lu Cheng's stamina would be so abnormal? With him, it's equivalent to having 2, 3, 4, 5 professional 9th pin masters, or maybe even more. Anyway, I can't see where his limit is. This makes the Songqing University Martial Arts Club equivalent to a weakened version of the Azure Dragon Squad, a strong contender for the qualification to advance in this group. Because it was a forum chat, he divided such a long paragraph into several posts, so that it could be displayed in the title. We don't want to listen to the analysis today, we just want to celebrate. Drive, drive. Those who wanted to drive just now, come out. Yan Shaoling shouted. Okamoto's fan laughed. Drive right away. Underage girls, stay away. You'd better continue to be soft and cute. Humph, in this online world full of old drivers, who can always be soft and cute. Now is the time to celebrate Lu Qing defeating a strong opponent. Why don't we tear off our masks and face it naked? No, face it frankly. Yan Shaoling replied with a spirit of self-deprecating. Okay, I'll post it right away. Okamoto's fan immediately agreed. After a short while, he posted a post. The old driver is driving, the beautiful young woman and her harem. Beep, Sawadika. My Buddhist name is Luanlai, snatched the sofa. Hey, student card. Yan Shaoling also appeared here. After swiping the card to reply, Unparalleled Dragon King appeared. Go to hell. It's the first episode of the Calabash Brothers. Yan Shaoling followed up and replied, go away. You're not a real driver. After a long time, in the aftertaste of the celebration, Brahman found Yan Shaoling. Little Nightfall, I think we need to be careful of some people from Yimo. They look so excited. In the past, fans of the Longhu Club and Shangqing sect often bombarded each other's forums. Yan Shaoling replied calmly. If they want to, then so be it. There aren't many people in our forum anyway. It's not a big problem to be affected for a day or two. When the time comes, we can just find a software to delete them in batches. Thinking about it is one thing, but I'm still angry. When our Lu Qing improves little by little and has more and more fans, let's see who dares to bully our forum. Even if they want to be bombarded, they have to consider the price they have to bear. In the home team locker room of Yimo Martial Arts Stadium, the atmosphere was so oppressive that it was terrifying. No one dared to speak, for fear of provoking Mad Dog. Qiu Yang's expression was gloomy, no longer as fresh and clean as usual. His eyes were filled with dangerous irritability, as if he couldn't wait to find someone to fight to vent his anger. Wei Xingtian sat quietly on the bench, like a volcano that was about to erupt. After a few minutes, Wei Xingtian suddenly stood up and sighed. The reason for today's failure is because I underestimated the enemy. I underestimated Songqing University's Lu Qing and Lin Quebec. It would have been better to arrange for old Dong to take the lead. Go out, appease the audience and accept the interview. If a defeat can defeat us, then what is the point of practicing martial arts and participating in the preliminaries? We should just go home and sell sweet potatoes. Old Dong is treating his injury in the emergency room. Don't let him down. After finishing his words, he strode to the locker room door, facing failure head-on. Qiu Yang exhaled and followed him. The reason why he was convinced by Wei Xingtian wasn't because he was better than him, but because he was arrogant and unruly, but he didn't lack any of the responsibilities he should have. In the cafeteria of Songqing University, Lu Qing put down the ointment bandages and the tray he was carrying, looked at his right arm that was bulging because of the bandage, and joked to Yenjika, I'm always a little worried. I always feel that the school hospital is a bunch of veterinarians, Yenjika sat opposite him, supported her cheek with one hand, and couldn't help but laugh. Aren't you scolding yourself? That's true. Lu Qing held the chopsticks in his left hand, picked up the chicken in front of him, put it into his mouth, and showed off. Although my right hand can't do delicate work for now, my left hand is not bad. With his fine control of the muscles in his body, he could barely maintain his daily life with his left hand. Yenjika didn't change her posture, rolled her eyes, and smiled. I also said that if your left hand is not convenient, I will reluctantly help you pick up some food and feed you. Since you are so good, Lu Qing suddenly had the impulse to bang his head against the wall. Why am I so stupid? He glanced at the plate, deliberately used the chopsticks to pick up the peanuts in the kung pao chicken. Pack, he didn't hold it firmly and dropped it. Pack, he didn't catch it again. You see, I can only pick up something that is easy to pick up. He looked at Yenjika eagerly. Yenjika rolled her cute eyes, looked at the ceiling of the cafeteria, held back her laughter, and said ruthlessly, then eat the part that is easy to pick up, or I can give you a spoon. Lu Qing was speechless for a moment. Seeing him like this, Yenjika's dimples appeared. She picked up a peanut and put it to his mouth, not daring to look at him, only looking at the two chopsticks. Lu Qing was delighted, opened his mouth, and took a bite. After chewing carefully and swallowing, he praised, "It's 100 times more delicious than usual. This is the taste of sweetness. Too exaggerated." Yenjika scolded with a smile, and then sighed with a slight blush. When I used to check Weibo and forums, every time I saw someone saying that the most tired couple was feeding each other in the cafeteria, I would like it. I never thought that I would have such a day. Chapter 140. Hearing Yenjika's exclamation, Lu Qing felt sweet and happy. He smiled and said, "You are not feeding a lovey-dovey couple, but caring for a disabled person." While speaking, he moved his right shoulder slightly. Pfft. Yenjika was amused by Lu Qing. "You are so good at making fun of yourself." "Making fun of myself every day makes life sunny and beautiful," Lu Qing said humorously. As the days of dating increased, he felt that he could express himself more and more in front of girls. He was no longer so nervous and could often be humorous and witty. Yenjika covered her mouth with her left hand, smiled and said in a low voice, "Then I'll give you some sunshine." She reached out her chopsticks, broke a braised meatball and put a small part of it in front of Lu Qing's mouth. This time, she didn't avoid his eyes. Her eyes were clear and her smile was shallow, like a pool of water that could drown people. Lu Qing almost couldn't move his eyes away. He put the small part of the braised meatball into his mouth and stuffed it full. He didn't know if it was a psychological effect, but he really felt it was more delicious than usual. Looking at his wriggling cheeks, Yenjika supported her cheek with her left hand and smiled. She seemed to find it more interesting than eating. After finishing the meatball, Lu Qing said in a low voice with a thick face, "I feel your sunshine, shining into my heart." Yenjika laughed and turned her head. She said with a slight blush, "You are so mushy." "Are all boys so mushy after falling in love?" "I don't know about that. It's my first time falling in love. I've never seen how other people fall in love." Lu Qing answered with a smile, "You should eat, too. Don't just care about the disabled." Although it was sweet and memorable to be fed by a girl, it would be a great sin if she was hungry because of it. Yenjika was amused again. Her voice was soft and soft. Then she picked up a piece of cola chicken wing and nibbled it slowly. Lu Qing felt that time flew by while feeding, eating and chatting. It seemed that in the blink of an eye, the dishes on the table and several bowls of rice were all gone. At this time, he thought of something and said deliberately, "Coach Yen, you may have a chance to play next week." "Ah." Yenjika was stunned at first, but then she laughed and joked, "Wow, you're cursing senior brother Sun Jian and the others to get hurt. Do I look like that kind of person?" Lu Qing asked back with an aggrieved expression. "Yes, you do." Yenjike answered affirmatively. Then, she laughed like a beautiful flower. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. After the girl calmed down, he said seriously, "Actually, I'm more worried about Senior Li Mao. I don't know if he can overcome his nervousness this time. If the situation worsens, he might not be able to handle it and withdraw before the name list is submitted." "You're right." Yenjike thought of what had happened last semester. "I wonder if Senior Li Mao can get some counseling." Lu Qing thought for a while and said, "I think that if I let him go at this time, he will only doubt himself more and feel more pressure. Besides, a week of tutoring won't do much good. The main thing is whether he can get out of it on his own. Yes, Coach sure should have a plan. He knows it." All of a sudden, she exclaimed in a low voice, "In that case, I might really be on the stage. What should I do? What should I do? I'm suddenly a little nervous." Lu Qing laughed and said, "It's normal to be nervous. It can actually help you perform better." Speaking of this, he revealed his true intention. "How about we continue the actual combat training tomorrow afternoon?" Yenjike said worriedly, "You're injured. Just one arm. It's more than enough to be a sparring partner." Lu Qing patted his chest exaggeratedly with his left hand. "Do you think I can't help using my right hand when I'm sparring with you?" "Who knows?" Yenjike deliberately dragged her voice. After a moment of silence, she said, "Well, you have to be careful." "Yes, yes." Lu Qing beamed. "After the special training tomorrow, you go back to the dormitory and take a nap. I'll find you at 3:00 and we'll go to the martial arts arena to train for an hour. Oh right, I heard that the movie, The Amazing Wizard, is pretty good. Why don't we go to the city center and find a place to watch it? After 6 or 7 o'clock, we can go eat the stone fish that I mentioned before. It's very good." This was the arrangement he had planned for a long time. If he lost to Fearless Squad, he would invite Yenjike to watch a movie and eat stone fish in the name of relaxing. If he accidentally completed his small goal, of course, he would use the excuse of celebrating. All in all, they were all excuses to ask Yenjike out. Yenjike smiled and said, "What a coincidence. My roommate said that we would go to watch The Amazing Wizard together for a group activity tomorrow night." Ah. Lu Qing felt like he was hit in the head. His brain was spinning quickly, thinking of how to bewitch the girl. At this time, Yenjike snorted and looked to the side. "Since you're a disabled person, I can only reluctantly let them down." "Good. Coach Yen is so beautiful and kind." Lu Qing was overjoyed and complimented. This date didn't need to be checked out. They were all checked out last time. After complimenting, he asked casually, "The relationship between you roommates seems to be pretty good." "Yeah, there are good and bad dormitories everywhere. Like you guys, it should be the same, right?" Yenjike asked curiously. Lu Qing nodded and said, "My 2 roommates in the small dormitory are not too fussy. Their personal habits are okay and they get along well. Our big dormitory next door has 2 weirdos. One of them would video chat with someone every day when he's free, regardless of whether his roommate is resting or not. The other has bad hygiene habits. His clothes are soaked in water and he doesn't wash them. Therefore, they often have conflicts." Yenjike smiled and said, "The girls' dormitory is almost the same. But maybe girls are more attentive to details and care about more things. I leave early and come back late. Except for sleeping, I don't spend much time in the dormitory. So I have a good relationship with them." They talked about this topic for a while. Yenjika knew that Lu Qing was still tired, so she urged him to go back to the dormitory to rest. She planned to finish the homework she had accumulated last week. At this time, the sky was dark and the lights were on. Lu Qing walked Yenjika to the door of the third building and chatted with her for a while. Then he saw her walking to the door of the dormitory. She suddenly turned around and said with a smile in the light, "Qing, you're awesome today." Yenjika finished her cute and encouraging pose and hurriedly turned around and ran into the corridor of the building. Lu Qing was in a daze. After a long time, he came to his senses and couldn't help but smile. She was saying that I did a great job defeating the strong enemy this afternoon. In the corridor, Yenjika reached out her hands that were warmed by Lu Qing and put them on her cheeks. She felt the heat of embarrassment and happiness and scolded herself, "Why did I say it out loud? It's so embarrassing." Thinking of this, she suddenly realized something. She used the chopsticks that she had fed Lu Qing before to eat again. Does this count as an indirect kiss? Yenjika stopped at the corner of the corridor unconsciously. Her eyes were full of anger and embarrassment. Lu Qing walked briskly to his own dormitory, recalling every detail of his interaction with Yenjika along the way. Suddenly, he said to himself happily, "It seems that she didn't change her chopsticks. She used the chopsticks that she fed me to eat again. This is an indirect kiss." Thinking of this, Lu Qing suddenly felt that the food before was 100 times sweeter, no, 1,000 times sweeter. Well, isn't this idea too wretched? Lu Qing tried to be serious, but he couldn't help thinking about it. Yenjika returned to the dormitory and saw that her roommates were all there. She took a deep breath and plucked up the courage to say, "I can't go to the movies tomorrow." "Why?" Li Lientong, who was sitting at the desk and writing a report, turned around and asked in surprise. Yenjika hesitated for a moment and decided to tell the truth. "I have to go on a date with my boyfriend." Her voice became lower and lower. "Date? Boyfriend?" Shi Xiangyang, who was lying on the bed playing with her phone, suddenly sat up and asked in surprise. Li Lientong and Zhong Yanru, who was playing games on the computer, also stood up at the same time. "You have a boyfriend? When did you have a boyfriend?" Yenjika was embarrassed by their sparkling eyes. She forced herself to keep calm and said, just on Valentine's Day. Our relationship wasn't very stable before, so I didn't mention it." Is it the boy who stopped at the door of our dormitory and confessed?" Zhong Yanru and Yenjika were in the same major. She was the one who accompanied Yenjika back that day. She was natural and unrestrained and didn't care about trifles. She was the lubricant for their good relationship in the dormitory. "No." Yenjika bit her lower lip and said, "He's a teammate of the martial arts club, a former high school classmate. I told you that you would get into trouble sooner or later if you kept going to the martial arts club." "You really got into trouble." Li Lientong joked and gossiped, "What kind of boy is he? Isn't he handsome?" "No, his appearance is quite ordinary. He's clean and pleasing to the eye." Yenjika answered frankly. Li Lientong thought of something and suddenly laughed. "I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it." "If it's too dirty, then don't say it." Yenjika answered without hesitation. Only 2 of her dormitory mates were from the School of Business and Economics. The other 2 were from the School of Clinical Medicine. Although Li Lientong had never had a boyfriend before, she was both dirty and dirty. She could often come up with shocking words. However, in front of outsiders, she was dignified and pure. Li Lientong laughed and said, "Since his appearance is ordinary, then he must have a lot of inner qualities." She emphasized the word inner qualities, which would create ambiguity when people heard it. "Bah! Hello dirty Tong, goodbye dirty Tong." Yenjika laughed and scolded. Shi Xiangyang said with grief and indignation, "Such a cute and beautiful girl like Ko was abducted just like that. I can't accept it." A lot of boys in our major are probably crying. Last time when Ku sent me textbooks, they were simply shocked. From time to time, they would ask me about the situation. Her sexual orientation was normal, but she loved beautiful things the most, including beautiful girls. Her catchphrase was white, fragrant, and soft girls. Who didn't like girls? The boys in our college will probably be devastated. The goodies have flowed into the fields of outsiders. Zhong Yanru also joked and then asked curiously, Ku, what kind of boy is he? Yenjika thought seriously and suddenly laughed. He's a silly guy, very silly. But, he's considerate, gentle, and occasionally humorous. He's more attentive. As she spoke, she thought of the fresh cream cake that Lu Qing gave her. She thought of Lu Cheng's possible appearance when he was checking the spot and his foolishness when he deliberately hid it. While she was recalling, she suddenly saw Li Liantong hand a mirror to her. She laughed and said, Ku, you look like a typical girl in love now. Women in love will become beautiful indeed. Yenjika looked at her in shock. She saw herself in the mirror unconsciously smiling. Her cheeks were slightly red, and her eyes were like stars. Gentleness was exposed and sweetness was hidden. She seemed shy and happy at the same time. She was so beautiful that even she was a little surprised. Is this how I look now? It's only been 10 days since Qing confessed. It's only been 10 days since I tried to accept. Chapter 141. While Yenjika was staring at herself in the mirror in a daze, Shi Xiangyang leaned on the edge of the bed and supported her chin with one hand. She praised and teased, now I finally understand what glowing means. Li Liantong laughed and said, Ku, wait until you've been showered with love for a while, then you'll understand what it means to be a beauty. Yenjika suddenly woke up and blurted out, although I'm embarrassed by your compliment, I'll still accept it. But you have to explain why you use such a strange word like showering. Is it strange? Li Liantong laughed and said, you need to learn about it. Maybe it'll come in handy soon. Yenjika blushed and immediately changed the topic. Dirty Tong, look at you. You look so pure and pretty. Why are you so dirty? Yenjika looked at Dirty Tong and said, Dirty Tong, why are you so dirty? This is called storing up theoretical knowledge. Li Liantong's expression didn't change. Yenjika continued, of the two boys who chased after you, which one did you like? None of them. Li Liantong suddenly realized something. Ku, don't try to drag me into this matter. You have to bring your boyfriend out and let us see who has captured your heart. We have to bring him out for a walk. That's right. As your boyfriend, he didn't even treat us to a meal. That's so incompetent. I don't know how he managed to chase after you. Zhong Yanru also joined in. She was a little chubby, but not ugly. Born in a divorced family, she developed a generous and caring character. Shi Xiangyang immediately patted the bed and echoed, I'm going to face my love rival. I want to see how he managed to kidnap our fair, fragrant, and soft Ku. She was a tall girl with wheat-colored skin. When she was not wearing glasses, she would look rather muddle-headed. However, once she put on glasses, held a scalpel, and faced a little white mouse and a little white rabbit, she looked a little like a cold killer described by Li Liantong. Yenjika couldn't handle their teasing and had to surrender. Okay. I'll bring him to meet you and treat you to a meal when I have time. Lu Qing took out the key with his left hand and opened the door of his own dormitory. The living room was empty, but there was a lingering smell of alcohol. We're having a weekend meal together and playing online games. He guessed the whole story and walked slowly to his little dormitory. Suddenly, he heard the sound of the doorknob turning quickly. His heart skipped a beat, and he immediately took a few steps back. At this moment, the wooden door of Kai Zhongming's dormitory opened, and Zhao Chang, Qin Mo, and the others jumped out. They were holding something that was used during birthday celebrations, and they sprayed it in front of Lu Qing. The colorful strips almost fell to Lu Cheng's feet, and they almost covered his head and face. "Welcome back, our great master." Kai Zhongming looked at Lu Qing cheekily. "Surprise. Surprise my ass." Lu Qing scolded jokingly. "How did you come up with this idea?" "Fortunately, my senses were sharp and I retreated in time. Otherwise, I would have to take another bath. With one hand injured, this was a difficult thing to do." Kai Zhongming pointed at Qin Mo and said, "After we asked about your injury, we just wanted to congratulate you verbally." But Qin Mo insisted on doing something to make it livelier and grander. "We thought that since we had nothing to do, we might as well just let him be." He had a helpless look on his face as if they were adults accompanying a child. But Lu Qing clearly remembered that little Ming was the one who made the most noise and was most pleased with himself. "What surprise? I'm not fooling around. I'm just grateful to Qing for making me proud in front of my friends." Qin Mo, who looked like a refined beast, immediately retorted. "What do you mean?" Kai Zhongming asked in surprise. Obviously, he had never heard Qin Mo mention this before. Zhao Chang and the others were also curious, waiting for Qin Mo to answer their doubts. Qin Mo laughed and said, "Let me drink a mouthful of hot tea and slowly explain." Pfft. Lu Qing almost burst out laughing. He felt that although Qin Mo, a rich second generation, didn't have much interaction with his roommates in the entertainment circle, he had a good personality and was easy to get along with. In the afternoon, everyone in the dormitory felt exhausted after watching Lu Qing and the others' tough and fierce competition. Qin Mo took out his phone and took a blurry picture of the TV. He opened it and shared it proudly. "Congratulations to my awesome roommate for winning. He defeated 3 opponents by himself." After everyone had played a few games online, he picked up his phone again to see if there were any replies. He saw that many people liked his post and many people asked what the competition was. After replying to group stage of preliminaries, he found that a friend who often competed with him also replied, "What kind of awesome fighters can you college students have? I know a real young master who is quite famous in the martial arts circle of Songqing. Last time, 3 big men were holding him down, but he just shook them and threw them away. Isn't he awesome? Sing Xiao, you're better at bragging than singing. My classmate defeated a professional 9th pin fighter." Qin Mo couldn't help but show off. Xing Xiao's original name was Xing Xiaowen. He had an older sister at home and could be considered a real rich second generation. Xing Xiaowen immediately replied, "Stop bragging, you beast. If he can defeat a professional 9th pin fighter, he definitely won't be unknown. Tell me his name. What if I know him? Why don't I let him fight with the master I know?" "Fine, his name is Lu Qing. If you have the ability, you can go and find out," Qin Mo said stubbornly. Xing Xiaowen was drinking afternoon tea with someone. He looked at his phone and smiled. He raised his head and asked, "My buddy loves to brag. He said he knows a super awesome young master. Can you help me?" Beside him sat a young man with sharp eyes. He smiled and said, "A super awesome young master? In the circle of Songqing, I should know him." Xing Xiaowen laughed and said, "Didn't I tell you? He loves to brag. What if he pulls an amateur fighter out of nowhere? You definitely won't know him. Tell me, what's his name? Maybe we can learn from each other." The young man with sharp eyes smiled indifferently. Xing Xiaowen took a sip of tea and said, "Lu Qing. I've never heard of him." The young man with sharp eyes was stunned. After a while, he asked, "Lu Qing from Songqing University. Yes, yes. My buddy is from Songqing University. He said he's his classmate. Xing Xiaowen observed carefully and said, is he really that awesome? The young man with sharp eyes nodded heavily and said, he's really awesome. How about compared to you? Xing Xiaowen asked in surprise. At his current age, he was still receiving education. The mature masters of Danqi state would at most be polite to him for the sake of his father. They wouldn't hang out with him for no reason. Among the martial artists he played with, this guy was the best. The young man with sharp eyes thought of the fight that just ended. He thought of the gesture that made everyone shut up and the fact that Lu Qing had only been practicing martial arts for half a year. Although he didn't want to admit it, he still nodded with difficulty and answered, he's better than me, better than you. Xing Xiaowen gasped. He didn't dare to answer Qin Mo's questions anymore. He didn't dare to mention anything about learning from each other. I feel so good when I think of Xing Xiao's face. Cheng, you're awesome. You're famous in the martial arts circle of Songqing. Qin Mo laughed heartily. Before Lu Qing could say anything, Zhou Zhigao asked in confusion, how did you know the situation on the other side? You even know the details of their conversation. Qin Mo laughed and said, it's not just the two of us having afternoon tea. Most of Zhang Xiao's friends are also my friends. I sold him out so quickly. Although he didn't want to admit it, Lu Qing felt a little happy. He thought for a while and said, what's the name of the young martial artist that Xing Xiao knows? Maybe I know him too. Pan Qingyun. Qin Mo answered honestly. Lu Qing frowned and shook his head. It sounds familiar, but I don't think I know him. His roommates didn't bother with this question. Kai Zongming laughed and said, Qing, they said it's time to give you a new nickname. Iron Lung, 4 lungs, 8 lungs. I think those are too tacky, so I suggested perpetual motion machine. Lu Qing was stunned. He thought for a while and said, perpetual motion machine. It's okay, but it's a little weird. What's weird? A perpetual motion machine with unlimited stamina. As Kai Zongming explained, he smirked and gestured a pile-driving exercise. Never stop exercising. F***ck off. You perverted guy, I don't know you. Lu Qing scolded jokingly. While they were talking and laughing, the door suddenly opened. Tang Wen came in from outside. Tang Wen, didn't you go to the calculus exam? Qin Mo asked in surprise. Tang Wen said absent-mindedly, I finished the exam. It was all the knowledge points that Professor Zhang taught me that afternoon. He didn't accept any gifts. Professor Zhang is a model teacher. Xiao Chang sighed. He doesn't take a grade card. Tang Wen suddenly showed an expression worse than crying. But I still don't know how to do it. Lu Qing and the others were stunned. They looked at each other and didn't know what to say or how to comfort him. Back in the small dormitory, he put his phone in place and typed quickly on the keyboard with his left hand. He shared with Yenjika the fact that he was in the limelight even though he wasn't there. Yenjika sent an emoji covering its mouth and laughing. That's awesome. Qing, you're now a person who can use your name. After chatting for a while, she mentioned the request of her roommates. Those little bitches want you to treat them to a meal. They want to see if you have 3 heads and 6 arms. I'm sorry to disappoint them. I'm a one-armed hero. Lu Qing was very happy that Yenjika was willing to tell her roommates about their relationship. Coach Yen, you decide when to treat them to a meal. Then Monday at noon. Yenjika sent a pitiful emoji with her eyes wide open. You don't know how badly they teased me. Lu Qing quickly comforted her and listened to her complaining. When she went to do her homework, he opened the web page to see the praise on the forum. As soon as he opened it, he was stunned because all the posts on the homepage were cursing him. Trash who uses dirty tricks, disgusting person who doesn't have the demeanor of a martial artist, villain who gets his way, immoral, arrogant people don't have a good ending. Did the forum explode? Lu Cheng was no stranger to this. He was a little angry, a little annoyed, and a little worried about his fans. But he soon calmed down and closed the web page rationally. If he cursed with this group of people, not only would it ruin his mood, but it would also be a waste of time. Anyway, they were just venting for a while and it would be over soon. At that time, he could help to push up the top posts. The best way to slap their faces was to become stronger and defeat more and more masters. Then they could only look up to him. Even if they spit out dirty water, it would only fall on themselves. Calming himself down, Lu Qing recalled every detail of today's match. He analyzed his responses from a bystander's point of view and reviewed his mistakes and habits. Gradually, he felt that he had gained something new. For example, attacking the genitals wasn't a bad or ineffective move, but as long as it was appropriate, it would be easy for the enemy to use it as an opportunity to set a trap for him. When he said "good night" to Yenjika, he felt that he was strong again. The enemy's hatred was the best reward for him. It can only be changed slowly, bit by bit, through the challenge tournament again and again. It's normal for you to be especially nervous about the competition next week. You don't have to blame yourself for it. Anyway, this is just an actual battle training, not a result. Once you seize the opportunity and win a match, you will gradually like the challenge tournament. That makes sense. I was too impatient to see a change and became more nervous. Li Mao muttered thoughtfully. Lu Qing thought for a while and suddenly asked, "Senior Li, do you have a girlfriend?" "Why did you ask this?" Li Mao looked at Lu Qing in confusion, but answered honestly, "No. I used to like my desk mate in high school. Unfortunately, she didn't like me and found another boyfriend. I haven't been able to get over it. I always feel that I haven't completely gotten over it, so I don't want to hurt other girls." Speaking of this, he sighed and said, "When I first joined the martial arts club, my main purpose was to find something to kill time and divert my attention, so that I wouldn't always recall the past. Sigh, at that time, it was really melancholy, loss, and pain. After half a semester, I almost calmed down. I joined the martial arts course again for the sake of securing a job in the future. I had the same idea as Jiang Fuxing and Li Xiaowen. Nowadays, it's getting harder and harder for college students to find a job. I need to prepare earlier and more. At that time, I actually didn't have any feelings for the martial arts club. It wasn't until I saw the painful faces of Lin Kei, Chen Zhanghua, and the others and heard Coach Shi's encouragement that I fell in love with this place and this atmosphere. I really wanted to do something for the martial arts club and didn't want to be a burden to everyone. I've been training hard these days because I saw you guys improve so fast and so fiercely. I was afraid that I would be left far behind if I slacked off and couldn't make up for my mistakes." Listening to Li Mao's sentiments, Lu Qing couldn't help but sigh. Senior Li Mao was usually a more active and cheerful member of the special training team. Who knew that he had so many things on his mind? After saying this, Li Mao seemed to relax a lot. He asked in confusion, "Why did you ask me if I have a girlfriend? Are you going to introduce one to me?" "No." Lu Qing chuckled. "I just want to say that Senior Sun Jian is not afraid of failure or losing face when he has a girlfriend. You're a single dog who doesn't even have a girlfriend. Who cares if you lose face? Why are you so nervous?" Li Mao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He clenched his left fist and shook it gently. "Senior Li Mao, come on." Without waiting for Li Mao's response, he turned around and continued his endurance training. Li Mao was in a daze for a long time. Finally, he clenched his fist and said to himself, "Come on. The special training on Sunday morning passed quickly. Lu Qing and Yan Jike went back to the dormitory after lunch. They took the time to take a nap and recharge. When they were about to leave, he stood in the bathroom and carefully cleaned himself up. He was full of expectation for the next date. Although he felt very satisfied just practicing martial arts with Yan Jike, holding hands, watching movies, and sharing food with her, people were always greedy. Moreover, Yan Jike said that she needed time to adapt when she accepted his confession, which made him a little nervous. He always hoped that there would be continuous progress and he always wanted to be more certain. I don't know if I can finish my first kiss today. Lu Cheng was in a daze. He touched the chewing gum in his pocket and the first gift for Yan Jike. P.S. Today I'm going back home after a rush. Let me make a copy. Otherwise, I'll be in a bit of a rush every time. Chapter 143. Because he didn't have the time or opportunity to leave school, Lu Qing bought the gift through the official flagship store online. When he received the package in time, he thanked the online shopping and express delivery. He thanked them for making the world so *king convenient. Well, I can't appear too eager and have too much hope, so as not to scare Yan Jike. If there's a chance, I'll give it a try. If there's no chance, I'll wait for the next time. Looking at himself in the mirror, Lu Qing silently encouraged himself. Then he took out a piece of chewing gum, unwrapped it, stuffed it into his mouth, and seriously stirred it. Although he might not have a chance, and although he didn't have bad breath, it's always better to be prepared. It's always good to leave a perfect impression on the girl during the first kiss. Chewing the gum, Lu Qing walked out of his own dormitory, walked along the pedestrian street, and arrived outside Building 3 where Yan Jike lived. He sent a message to her, telling her that she could come out now. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he found a trash can and spit out the gum, so as not to reveal his wild ambition and make the girl vigilant and resistant. Yan Jike was always punctual. Lu Qing didn't have to wait long before he saw her coming out with martial arts training-related items in her hands. Because the weather was getting warmer, the girl wore a thin white sweater, a short orange coat, a black pleated skirt, a pair of matching leggings, and a pair of small boots. She was different from her usual student style, but she didn't look mature, still full of youth. Moreover, she seemed to have applied something lightly on her face, which made her fair skin more rosy, delicate and charming. Her eyes were bright and spirited, like stars. Lu Qing, who was starting to get used to her beauty, was stunned again. For a moment, he stared at her blankly and forgot to greet her. He also ignored the chubby girl beside Yan Jike. Zhong Yanru couldn't help but laugh. She moved closer to Yan Jike's ear and said in a low voice, "You're really silly. But looking at you now, which boy wouldn't be silly?" Yan Jike turned her head and smiled. She seemed to be quite satisfied with Lu Cheng's reaction, but she said, "Look at his silly look. If I had known, I wouldn't have let you come down with me." Lu Cheng, who had been following the girl with his eyes, was awakened by her movement. He hurriedly took a deep breath and walked up to her. He said a little shyly, "I was too engrossed just now." He was about to add, "You look especially beautiful today," when he suddenly noticed that there was a girl beside Yan Jike. He was afraid that the shy girl wouldn't be able to accept it, so he stopped abruptly. Yan Jike pursed her lips and didn't respond to Lu Cheng's compliment directly. With a smile, she introduced, "This is my roommate, Zhong Yanru. She's a really nice girl, just a little noisy." Even if I encounter Chen Zhonghua's fighting style, I won't be taken advantage of. Well, then let's start. Yan Jike bit her lower lip lightly, her eyes bright, eager to try. Lu Qing reached out his left hand and put it on Yan Jike's palm. While feeling the delicate softness of her skin, he said, calm down and try to enter the state of concealment of spirit and chi. Also, maintain the feeling of half meditation. You can't completely immerse yourself in it, or you'll ignore the external. He told Yenjika his experience in this aspect bit by bit, and racked his brains to make her understand. During this process, he gradually understood some of the specious parts and found many hidden problems. Teaching and learning are mutually beneficial, and education is combined with fun. That's probably what they mean. Lu Qing thought happily. Although the girl didn't have Jin Dan, and her meditation was only a small success, she had a lot more knowledge than Lu Qing in terms of martial arts. After several failures in the beginning, she gradually got the feeling and groped for the trick of half meditation. Well, you can tell where my next move is through the changes of my muscles and pores on my skin. Lu Qing asked in a low voice. Yenjika quietly listened and said, "You're going to whip your left leg." "Yes, but I'm still a little bit off." "I'm not going to whip my left leg, I'm going to take a step forward with my left leg and hit you sideways." Lu Qing corrected her. This kind of conversation kept happening. Yenjika showed her talent in this aspect. Although she wasn't as abnormal as Lu Qing, she soon got the hang of it. The more she practiced, the happier and more energetic she became. Unknowingly, 40 minutes passed. Lu Qing suddenly heard a teasing voice, "Is this how the two of you train? I'm so envious of you." He and Yenjika turned their heads at the same time, only to see Li Mao passing by with the bag of martial arts suit and shoes. Yenjika blushed again and hurriedly let go of his hand. "We're practicing listening skill." Lu Qing answered seriously, without a trace of shyness. Yes. I won't disturb you too. I'm going to the other side." Li Mao teased and left with a big laugh. Yenjika slightly blushed and lowered her eyes. After a while, she said, "Senior Brotherly seems to be more relaxed, maybe he figured something out." Lu Qing guessed and then suggested, "How about we practice the 24 blizzard strikes in real combat?" He couldn't practice listening skill anymore. What if Yenjika didn't want to go on a date anymore? Okay. Yenjika took a deep breath to sober herself up. Lu Qing only defended and helped Yenjika to achieve a better experience of constantly borrowing strength from the opponent. Although he couldn't use one of his hands, he kept his footwork well and could always avoid the attacks on his right side in time. Chapter 144. In the cinema with the lights off, Lu Qing couldn't calm down. He couldn't help but look at Yenjika beside him, waiting for the amazing wizard to enter a relatively ordinary stage so that he could give her the gift and kiss her without disturbing her mood. So far, everything had gone according to his expectations. The 2 rows behind him and the seats around him were almost empty, so he didn't have to worry about being stared at and making her feel shy and awkward. The movie was also very good, and the little details were very warm and funny, making her laugh in a low voice from time to time, full of happiness. The environment was dark and private, suitable for fermenting intimate feelings. In other words, everything was ready, except for the east wind. Thinking of this, Lu Qing's mouth was a little dry. He pursed his lips and reached out to touch the gift in his pocket. It was a colorful gold bracelet. He had combined various suggestions from the internet and chosen the ones that he thought were reasonable. Now he had his own opinion on the first gift between lovers. Regardless of the type of gift that the other party lacked or liked, the first time one gave a gift to a lover was definitely when both parties had just started dating, or even when they hadn't officially started dating. They were far from knowing each other well enough, and their tastes and preferences had yet to be fully exposed. In this case, the first gift must be one that could evoke good memories of each other. It was suitable for couples who had known each other for a long time. Looking at it could remind them of the warmth of the past. This could reflect the intention of the gift giver and the memories of the relationship. However, Lu Qing thought that he had only known Yan Jike for half a year and had only dated her for 10 days. Giving such a gift was still lacking in depth and atmosphere. He planned to look for his little notebook on the anniversary of their relationship and edit some words and scenes to make a corresponding gift. Eliminating the first choice, when a guy still couldn't grasp the details of a girl's aesthetic standards, he should never ask for something fresh, unique, and original. In that case, with a man's poor aesthetic standards, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to get his girlfriend's point. She would be moved by the gift but unable to complain at the same time. When she went back, she would hide it in a corner and only keep it as a souvenir. Therefore, at this time, it was not wrong to follow the rules. The classic was not necessarily bad, but at least it would not make the surprise turn into a shock. The value of the gift should not be too cheap, and it should be the best within the limits of one's ability. The kind that was cheap and unique could wait for future opportunities. The first time always had a special meaning. After careful consideration, Lu Qing decided to give up the idea for the time being. He decided to buy a bracelet together in the future. Instead, he chose a bracelet that could be adjusted to fit the size of the bracelet. When it came to the specific purchase, he thought that gold was too vulgar and not suitable for young people. He couldn't afford platinum and diamonds, so he finally settled on the more fashionable colored gold. With rose pink as the base, 6 small hearts were strung together. One was golden, and the other was silver. It was quite beautiful and was worth nearly 1,000 yuan. Of course, whether it was beautiful or not was just a conclusion that Lu Qing came to based on the opinions of the girls in the evaluation and his own feelings. But Yan Jike was not a girl after all. She had her own aesthetic standards. Whether she would think it was beautiful or not was still unknown. He could only say that such a bracelet would not be too ugly for her. After touching the bracelet, Lu Qing looked at Yan Jike beside him restlessly. He saw that under the dim light of the big screen, the girl had a faint sense of beauty. Her outline was extremely delicate. Looking at Yan Jike's smile, Lu Qing quietly took a breath and leaned over. His left hand slowly stretched out of his pocket. At this moment, Yan Jike suddenly moved closer. She was afraid to disturb others and whispered with a smile, "It's so funny. That owl just now was so silly and cute." Lu Qing was startled and put his left hand back. Seeing that the girl was staring at the screen with bright eyes and focusing on the plot, he felt a strong sense of guilt for interrupting her. Let's wait a little longer. When the plot is not so interesting. He made up his mind and leaned his head to Yan Jike, whispering in her ear, "Yeah, that owl was so silly and happy." Being close to her, Lu Qing smelled the light and sweet fragrance of the girl and felt her hair brushing his face due to his breath. He was instantly intoxicated and enjoyed this closeness. They talked about the plot intermittently and in a low voice for a while. His nose was full of the girl's beautiful smell. He could not help but feel restless and put his left hand into his pocket. "I'm so worried. Will he die?" Yan Jike suddenly grabbed Lu Qing's right hand and looked at the screen nervously without blinking. How could I interrupt her like this? Lu Qing felt like crying but had no tears. He put the bracelet back. Phew, that's good. After a while, Yan Jike exhaled and looked at Lu Qing. She lowered her voice and said, "Qing, why are you acting so weird? I was also very worried just now." Lu Qing answered sadly. "Yeah, I'm super nervous." Yan Jike agreed. Lu Qing enjoyed the close communication between the two of them, looking for opportunities again and again. However, Yan Jike had been watching the movie attentively and seriously for the whole time without a pee. Next time, I'll choose a less interesting movie next time. Lu Qing silently clenched his fist and regretted. He gave up the idea of kissing in disappointment and concentrated on the intimacy. Unknowingly, the movie ended and the ending song and thank you list began. Yenjika tried to sit up straight and wait for the lights to turn on. At this moment, Lu Cheng's right hand that was holding hers tightened slightly and pulled her back. Yenjika was afraid that if she sat up straight it would affect Lu Cheng's wound. She gave up and looked at Lu Cheng with a pair of slightly innocent eyes in confusion. Lu Cheng took a breath and said the lines that he had practiced over and over again. "Beauty, you dropped something." "Ah." Yenjika looked confused. She was so cute that Lu Cheng almost forgot to take out the gift. At this moment, the lights turned on. Lu Cheng took out his left hand from his pocket and said with a smile, "You dropped a bracelet." While speaking, he let go of his right hand and held the girl's wrist. With the help of his left hand, he put on the bracelet with difficulty. Yenjika was stunned at first. When she saw it clearly, she suddenly raised her right hand and covered her mouth. Her eyes were shining like water. She was surprised and happy at the same time. When she saw Lu Cheng's clumsy movements because of the inconvenience of his right hand, her eyebrows curved and her smile was gentle and tender. "Very beautiful." She took back her hand and looked at it carefully. She lowered her eyebrows and smiled gently. Her face was full of surprise and blush. Lu Cheng saw that the girl was really happy and became very happy himself. He smiled and said, "It's good that you like it." Yenjika smiled and blurted out, "Why do you want to give me a bracelet?" As soon as the words came out, she was annoyed. How could there be so many reasons for a gift between lovers? She didn't need to ask too much in case she lost the hazy beauty. What should I do? I was stupid just now. Humph, it must be Cheng who infected me. He must be the one who infected me. One is marked by one's company. Lu Cheng was stunned by the question and didn't know how to answer. Should he say that he just thought it was more beautiful and more suitable? After thinking for a while, he had an idea and said with a cheeky smile, "When I'm not with you, this bracelet will hold your hand for me." Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and held his hand. She looked to the side and said, "Let's go and eat. I'm so hungry." Seeing that the audience in the cinema was leaving, Lu Cheng had to give up the idea of kissing her completely. He took the girl and went to the stone fish shop nearby. This shop was very special. The fish was first cut into thin slices and the bones and non-essential parts were boiled with pickled cabbage and other seasonings. Then a wooden barrel was served to the customer. The barrel was lined with specially selected and cleaned stones and heated until they were boiling hot. "You like guys like me." Lu Cheng was secretly proud and smiled. "The other one also seems to have a crush on you." "I don't know. Anyway, he didn't mention it. It's good to be seen directly. I hope they can find their own girl soon." Yenjika gave her blessing. In that row of seats, the two boys looked at each other and sighed together. When they returned to the new campus, the night breeze was cool, refreshing and cold. Seeing that it was not yet 9:30 and that he hadn't completely given up on his first kiss today, Lu Cheng tried his last effort and said, "It's still early. Let's go for a walk by the lake to digest." As soon as he finished speaking, he wanted to slap himself. What kind of excuse was this? Dinner had been over for so long. How could he digest it? Furthermore, it wasn't early at this time. Feeling guilty, he didn't dare to look at her. Through her hands, Lu Cheng felt that Yenjika's pulse suddenly sped up and slightly trembled. "Are you cold?" he asked with concern. Yenjika lowered her eyes and looked to the side. She answered softly, "Not cold." "Well, a walk is good, okay." Lu Cheng was pleasantly surprised. He didn't expect the girl to agree. It seemed that she was in a good mood because of the date today. She wanted to stay with him for a while. He took the girl into the road leading to the lake. While chatting, they slowly walked farther and farther along the lake. Gradually, there was no one around. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Cheng's heartbeat suddenly sped up. He was thinking about what excuse to find and what opportunity to create. This made his mouth dry and tongue dry. He didn't know what to say and fell into an abnormal silence. Yenjike didn't say anything either. She seemed to be enjoying the silence. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Cheng's heart beat faster and faster. However, he also heard Yenjike's heart beat faster and faster. He heard her body couldn't stop trembling. Is she afraid that I will do something bad? Or is she not used to dating in the dark? Lu Cheng swallowed his saliva and turned to Yenjike with difficulty. He asked nervously, is it too dark here? After that, he wanted to slap himself again. The street lights were high up. How was it dark? At this moment, he saw Yenjike lowered her head. Her cheeks were flushed under the light. She was shy and timid. The girl slightly opened her mouth and said, in a low voice. It was like a small hand scratching Lu Cheng's heart. Lu Cheng held his breath. He felt that the girl was extremely beautiful. His heart was surging. He pulled her into his arms. A hug shouldn't make her angry, right? He had hugged her before. Yenjike didn't struggle. She leaned into Lu Cheng's arms softly. Her long black eyelashes trembled slightly, covering her eyes. Smelling the fragrance of hair and flowers, feeling the girl's delicate body, and looking at this seductive scene, Lu Cheng's mind buzzed. Blood rushed to his head. With my reminder, she'll definitely be alert and won't let that guy get what he wants easily. Humph, how dare he not please us? While they were talking, Yenjike pushed open the door and came in with flowers in her hand. Her eyebrows and the corners of her eyes were glowing. She was so beautiful that people didn't dare to look at her directly. Seeing that she was still blushing and her eyes were intoxicating, Li Liantong asked worriedly and nosily, Don't tell me you were still taken to the lake to enjoy the scenery or to take a walk in the woods by that guy. I spent so much effort to teach her. Yenjike's pretty face turned redder. She turned her head and looked to the side. She said firmly, No. No. We went to the lake to take a walk, not to enjoy the scenery. Li Liantong looked at her suspiciously. Suddenly, her attention was attracted by the colorful gold bracelet on her wrist. She asked curiously, I remember that you don't wear a bracelet when you go out. Did he give it to you? Yes. Yenjike breathed a sigh of relief and looked down at the bracelet. Her eyebrows and the corners of her eyes reappeared. It's quite ordinary. Li Liantong commented with arms crossed. But for a straight man's aesthetic standards, it's not bad to have such standards. Yenjike rubbed the heart-shaped bracelet and smiled. She nodded slightly and said, Yes, I think it's okay. She said to herself silently, Anyway, I like it very much. The most important thing is the thought. Zhong Yenru also smiled and said, It's fine as long as it's not ugly. You'll have to teach his aesthetic standards slowly in the future. Yenjike pursed her lips and smiled lightly. She didn't say anything. Her right hand touched her lips subconsciously and she recalled the experience just now. Her cheeks burned again and her eyes slightly lost focus, as if she was drunk. After sending the girl back to the dormitory, Lu Cheng logged into QQ with his mobile phone and sent her a happy emoji. Then he walked through the pedestrian street with light steps while recalling the sweetness of his first kiss. Life is so beautiful. Chapter 145. After returning to the dormitory of the 7th building, Lu Cheng finally calmed down a little after the cold night wind. He was no longer so excited, and intoxicated. When he woke up, he suddenly had a lot of worries. Would this progress be too fast for Yenjike? Would she be unable to accept it? Would she resist it psychologically? Would she think that he was too impatient and focused more on the physical than the emotional level? He had thought about these things before, so the plan of the first kiss was more of a test. When he really succeeded, he was a little worried about the gains and losses. He was afraid that he would ruin the girl's impression of him. But at that moment, he really couldn't control himself. He wasn't facing another girl, but the girl he loved. She was shy and timid, ready to let him do whatever he wanted. If he couldn't control himself, he would be worse than a beast. Lu Qing found a corner of the flower bed and sat down. Holding the phone, he thought about whether he should apologize to Yenjika or not. No, apologizing after kissing her is not a man's responsibility. It will make the girl think that I just want to take advantage of her. I need to show a responsible attitude and treat her better. Although there were a lot of comments on the internet, such as, women can't marry, men can't marry, and sex is normal, Lu Qing felt that he might be a conservative person who hadn't experienced too many setbacks in society. After holding her hand and kissing her lips, he would think of words like, forever, and so on. While he was thinking, his QQ beeped. Yenjika replied to him with a happy emoji and said, I don't talk to you, big pervert. Seeing such a reply, Lu Qing was not surprised but happy. He felt that the girl was more angry than angry. He was relieved and replied with a pitiful expression, I couldn't control myself at the moment. At the moment. Yenjika sent an emoji of rolling its eyes at the sky. Humph, I thought about it carefully. I think you have a premeditated plan. Tell me the truth. Did you have bad intentions when you asked me to take a walk by the lake? How could she see through this? Lu Qing blushed and felt very guilty. He was glad that the girl wasn't with him through the phone. He thought for a while and decided to be honest. He told the girl his thoughts and did not try to hide anything. Yes, not only did I want to kiss you when we went to the lakeside, but I also wanted to kiss you in the movie theater. But I saw that you were too focused on the movie, so I didn't have the heart to disturb you. I couldn't find a chance. Maybe guys are more impulsive and impatient, so they always want to get closer to you. Also, when you accepted my confession, didn't you say that you still needed time to get used to it? That you weren't ready to have another person in your life, and that you weren't at the stage where you especially liked me? If that happens, I feel that my heart will be very painful, so painful that it will be like dying. They say that first love can't go all the way to the end. I'm so worried. I'm worried that one day the person who will marry me won't be you. What a nightmare that will be. Okay, I'm done with the negative feelings. I've never thought about things like this before. It's all your fault. Lu Qing listened quietly. He felt that all the voices in the dormitory had faded away. His heart was clear and his eyes were slightly red. He took a breath and didn't listen to Yenjika's words. He made his own answer. I'm scared too. I'm also scared of such a future. But if we don't even have the courage to try, then we're doomed to miss it. Only by trying and working hard can we have hope. I'm working hard to practice martial arts and strengthen myself. I want to be able to grasp my destiny and grasp that opportunity and that hope. Although it's funny to say this at my age, I still have to say this. I have confidence in myself and in my love. I'm destined to be you in this life. After a while, Yenjika sent a scolding emoji. I told you not to reply. Go to sleep, you big pervert. Lu Qing smiled and immediately said, good night. Good night, see you tomorrow. Yenjika seemed to have forgotten the confession and answered just now. See you tomorrow. After sending this message, Lu Qing patiently waited for the girl's reply. He had a hunch that the girl would have other replies. After a full 10 minutes, he finally saw Yenjika's new message. Well, I'll work hard too. After reading the message seriously for a few minutes, Lu Cheng's lips curled into a smile as he fell asleep. The next day, he followed the routine of morning exercise, special training, shower, change, and then ran to the door of the female locker room and waited for Yenjike to come out. The weather was unusually cold. Yenjike was dressed like a cute bear. When she saw Lu Cheng, she snorted and turned her head to the side. She hummed and said, "Pervert. Big pervert." Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. He reached out his left hand and held her delicate palm. "Yes, yes, yes, I'm your exclusive pervert." "What are you talking about?" Yenjike didn't expect Lu Cheng to be so thick-skinned. She was speechless for a moment and quickly changed the topic. "Let me tell you about the other two roommates. One is called Li Lientong, we all call her Dirty Tong." While talking and laughing, the two left the martial arts arena and walked to the teaching building. They planned to go through there, get on the long bridge and return to the pedestrian street in the dormitory area. They would then go to the academy restaurant to meet Zhong Yenru and the others. As they walked, Lu Cheng and Yenjike found a group of people in front of them. They were all looking up at the roof, so they followed them out of curiosity. They were surprised to see a boy they didn't know standing outside the window of the 7th floor, looking down. Jumping off the building. Yenjike held Lu Cheng's hand tightly and said in a trembling voice. This was the first time she encountered such a thing. Before Songqing University moved to the new campus, 1 or 2 students jumped off the building every year. After moving here, nothing happened for more than half a year. It was said that the principal once said that the feng shui here was good. He didn't expect that someone would make the first jump today, Lu Cheng thought quickly. He took a breath and said to Yenjike, "You stay away. I'll go and take a look." "Okay, be careful." Yenjike understood Lu Cheng's idea and reminded him. When Lu Cheng approached, he saw the boy's pale face smile and jumped down decisively. "Damn!" Lu Cheng cursed in his heart. He put strength in his legs and jumped forward to the position he judged. Ignoring the injury on his right arm, he stretched out his hands in the midst of the exclamations. Bang! Under Yenjike's worried gaze, Lu Cheng caught the boy who was about to jump off the building. As soon as he touched the boy, his feet suddenly pressed inward, causing cracks to appear on the concrete floor. The violent force bounced back. He straightened his back, lowered his arms, pulled them back, and then shook them out. The boy who fell straight down was thrown to a place not far away. His face was full of fear and confusion, as if he had finally woken up from a nightmare. Lu Cheng exhaled. He felt that his sneakers were about to be destroyed, and the injury on his right arm was a little more serious. But no matter what, these were not as important as a human life. Seeing the teachers and security guards surrounding them and the onlookers staring at him and the boy who was about to jump off the building, Lu Cheng said loudly, "I'm not even afraid of death. What's there to be afraid of?" After saying that, he turned around and left. He met Yenjike outside the 2 schools, hiding his achievements and fame. Chapter 146. Are you okay? Yenjike asked with concern as soon as they met. Lu Cheng moved his right arm and smiled bitterly. "I'm fine, but this part seems to be more serious." Yenjike was both amused and annoyed. "You treat it too badly. You keep hurting it. Apologize to it." Seeing that the boy who jumped off the building was successfully saved, her mood was not affected. "I'm sorry. I'll take good care of it later." Lu Cheng readily accepted her advice and apologized to his right arm. But in fact, he was assuring Yenjike that he would not force himself to be brave and hurt himself again. Of course, if he really encountered a life-threatening situation, he would still help as long as it was within his power. "Remember what you said." Yenjika looked back at the scene of the jump and sighed. In fact, there is something wrong with what you said. Some people commit suicide not because they are afraid of death, but because they don't feel any happiness in life. They feel that life is completely dark. For them, no matter how much you remind them, they feel that they deserve to die. Forget it, we don't know why that person did it. You did your best out of kindness. That's great. You don't need to think about other things. Ha! Lu Qing was confused and didn't know what to say. Yenjika smiled gently and gracefully. Because of my cousin's mild autism, I often read about psychology and occasionally talk with their professional teachers. I know that some psychological diseases are not only caused by the mind but also related to the physiological basis. It can't be cured by just talking about it. It must be treated with the corresponding medicine. I think I understand what you mean. Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. Let's not talk about him. Anyway, we don't know each other. It's better to save a life than to build a 7th-floor pagoda. We don't care about what will happen to him in the future. Yenjika's attitude now was exactly the same as when she persuaded Wang Su. Lu Qing couldn't help thinking that although he had experienced a lot and was rapidly maturing, in fact, Yenjika might be more mature than him in terms of dealing with people. She seemed to have a complete and formed 3 views. Yes, let's not talk about him. Let's go eat. Your roommate is still waiting. Don't be late. Lu Qing stopped sighing and said. Yenjika's almond-shaped eyes widened. Eat what? Let's go to the hospital first. Isn't the injury on your arm more serious? It's just a little bit. It's not too late to go after dinner. Lu Qing gestured with his right arm. It's your first time treating your roommates to a meal. You can't just stand them up, right? What if they badmouth me in the future? Humph, if you perform well, it's useless for them to say bad things about you. If you perform poorly, it's useless for them to say good things about you. Shouldn't you focus on pleasing me and listening to me? Yenjika pursed her lips and raised her head. You're right. Lu Qing agreed. However, Yenjika was also a good girl who cared about her reputation. She felt embarrassed to stand her roommate up, so she looked at Lu Qing suspiciously and asked, Are you sure it's only a little bit? I'm sure. I'm a master of meditation, and I can use inner vision. Lu Qing said proudly. With his control over the muscles in his body, he had a rough idea of the extent of such injuries. Yenjika snorted and said, I'll accompany you to the hospital after dinner. Yes, I'll listen to you, Coach Yen. Lu Qing answered with a smile. His heart was filled with the joy of saving a life. Because they couldn't go out of school except for weekends and holidays, the business of the Academy restaurant, as the second-to-none Chinese restaurant in the new campus, was quite good. Lu Qing couldn't even book a table in advance. It was all thanks to Zhong Yanru, who didn't have class in the morning and came early to get a small private room, that they didn't have to wait for a number. Lu Qing and Yenjika arrived 2 minutes earlier than agreed. The 3 girls had already gathered and waited for a while. You've seen Zhong Yanru before, so there's no need to introduce her. Yenjika pointed at the petite and quiet girl and said, She's Li Liantong. Don't be fooled by her obedient appearance. Lu Qing didn't expect that the dirty Tong, Yenjika was talking about to be such a dignified and quiet girl. He was slightly surprised and smiled. Hello, I'm Lu Qing, Ku's boyfriend. You don't have to tell us, we all know. Li Liantong joked. Yenjika ignored her and turned to introduce her last roommate to Lu Qing. Shi Xiangyang, surgical killer. Lu Qing saw that the so-called surgical killer was tall, almost as tall as him. Her skin was a healthy wheat color and her eyes were a little blurred because she couldn't focus. He had deep doubts about the girl's ability to come up with nicknames in the dormitory, but on the surface, he smiled and said, "Hello, I heard that you all know me." He was using Li Liantong's joking to make fun of himself. Yenjika, Li Liantong and Zhong Yanru couldn't help but laugh. Shi Xiangyang obviously didn't get the point and answered blankly, "Yes, yes. I'm sitting next to Lu Qing. He hurt his right arm in the challenge tournament, so he's disabled for the time being. He needs my help to make a living." Yenjika pulled Lu Qing to sit down naturally and gracefully. Then she put some food in his bowl. "Challenge tournament?" Li Liantong asked curiously, "Are you the main force of the martial arts club?" "Yes," Lu Qing admitted frankly. Li Liantong didn't ask further, because in her impression, the martial arts club in her school was very weak, and only Lin Ke was strong. Moreover, the martial arts club made a big fuss last semester, but they were eliminated in the group stage. It could be seen that the other members were really weak, and the so-called main force was just a so-so. Shi Xiangyang was also not interested in this topic. She first helped Yenjika to order the dishes, and then asked with a smile, "Lu Qing, I heard from Ke that you were high school classmates." "Yes, classmates from the next class," Lu Qing answered honestly, without any uneasiness. Only when he cared about the girl he loved would he turn into a fool. Zhong Yanru followed up and asked, "Ke should be a famous person in your school, right?" "Of course, I don't know." Lu Qing wanted to describe how many boys deliberately passed by Yenjika's class, but the girl secretly pinched him, so he could only stop abruptly. "Did you have a little crush on her at that time?" Li Liantong gossiped about the details with bright eyes. Lu Qing said with a smile, "More than a little." Pfft. His answer immediately attracted Yenjika's eyes, but the three girls became more excited. Shi Xiangyang said with a smile, "So you had a little crush on our Ko for a long time. Then you joined the martial arts club because of her. You wanted to get close to her." "Wanted" is not quite accurate. I should say, deliberately. Lu Qing smiled and made fun of himself again. "Oh." The three girls made meaningful sounds, which made Yenjika roll her eyes at Lu Qing again. But when she wanted to pinch his hand, he turned over and held it in his palm, gently rubbing it. "Not bad." Li Liantong praised Lu Qing's cooperation and asked, "Then you got Ke's contact and started to pursue her?" "At that time, I didn't dare to reveal my intention to pursue her, so I could only chat with her as an old classmate." Lu Qing chuckled. Zhong Yanru suddenly understood. "I was wondering why Ke always took out her phone to chat." Before she could finish, Yenjika reached out and covered her mouth. The two of them laughed and joked. The dishes were served one after another. They began to chat while eating. As for the gossip, Lu Qing would say what he could, but he would never say what he couldn't. With the help of others' curiosity, he and Yenjika reminisced about the details of the past. The more they ate, the more heartwarming and tasty the meal became. At the end of the meal, the three girls finally stopped and picked up their phones to reply to the messages. "Hey, someone jumped off a building just now. The first jump in the new campus." Li Liantong suddenly exclaimed. "What? What?" Zhong Yanru and Shi Xiangyang asked in surprise. Li Liantong said, "Cabbage, look at the class group. Ruru, you should be able to see it when you browse the school forum." Because Shi Xiangyang always liked to say that girls were fragrant, soft, and fair, and was also a little white mouse and little white rabbit killer, she was usually very muddle-headed, so Li Liantong gave her another nickname, Cabbage. "We happened to meet on the way here." Yenjika asked curiously, "Did they say why they jumped off the building? Why didn't you say so earlier?" Li Liantong stared at the screen and said, "They're from the management school." According to his roommate, he was from an ordinary family but was greedy for money. He borrowed a small amount of money and the interest was getting higher and higher. Because he was forced to repay the debt, he cheated a lot of his classmates. In the end, he couldn't pay the debt and wanted to commit suicide by jumping off the building. Pooh, this kind of person is a scourge in the world. Lu Qing and Yan Zhike looked at each other. They didn't expect such a situation. At least you helped those classmates find someone to repay their debt. His parents also didn't have to bear the pain of losing their son while facing a huge debt. Yan Zhike leaned towards Lu Cheng's ear and comforted him. She didn't want him to feel unhappy about saving such a person. Lu Qing exhaled and said, just treat it as helping his parents. Hey, he was saved by someone. That's good. Every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. Li Liantong, Zhong Yanru, and Shi Xiangyang started to discuss this matter. After a rather enjoyable lunch, Yan Zhike escorted Lu Qing to the school hospital. Actually, you don't have to go. The first class in the afternoon is about to start. Maybe I'll be sent to the city to take an X-ray later. Lu Qing said to the girl who felt sorry for him. Yan Zhike snorted and said, how can there be a lack of truancy in university? I didn't expect that the first truancy in my life would be like this. At this moment, Lu Cheng's phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was from his teacher. Teacher Shi. He vaguely guessed why it was from him. Not bad. Now you know how to save people. Geezer Shi joked. How's your hand? Is it okay? At that time, with that kind of skill, he could guess that it was Lu Qing who saved him. Lin Ke had to rest and didn't come to the martial arts club these 2 days. It's a little serious. Lu Qing answered honestly. Come to my place. I'll do acupuncture and give you some ointment. The doctors in your school hospital can only treat colds and colds. Geezer Shi said sarcastically. Okay. Where do you live? Lu Qing didn't want to go to the city hospital to take an X-ray. After taking down Geezer Shi's address, he quickly told Yan Zhike about it. Then I'll go back to class. Yan Zhike was relieved and said with a smile. Bye-bye. I'll wait for you at the usual place tonight. Lu Qing smiled and waved his hand. The usual place was Chenkieku. They were going to have dinner together. Yan Zhike turned around and walked 2 steps. She suddenly turned back and said with a smile, Qing, when you saved people just now, well, you were so cool. After saying that, she quickly turned her head and left with light footsteps. When Lu Qing arrived at the teacher's apartment where Geezer Shi lived, he saw a mess of cups and plates and garbage everywhere, which perfectly fit the image of a lonely and lazy old man. After expressing his concern about his master's living situation, he was about to speak when he heard Geezer Shi say with a dry laugh, a few old friends came and I didn't have time to clean up. Old friends? Lu Qing asked casually. Yes, old friends that I haven't seen for more than 10 years. Hey, in order to break through to the forbidden area, he actually thought of searching for the relics left by ancient cultivators. He wanted to be inclusive and learn by analogy. Geezer Shi laughed. He said that there might be a Longhu Immortal's relic nearby. Lu Qing was stunned and almost couldn't control his heartbeat. Chapter 147. Immortal Cultivation. Is that true? Lu Qing disguised his shock as surprise. Geezer Shi pushed away the junk on the sofa and said, of course, but it's different from what you see on TV or in novels. It's not as scary as in myths and legends. Most of those myths and legends belong to top physical invulnerability experts or forbidden mighty ones. I see. Lu Qing took the opportunity to ask about his doubts. What's the difference? In the beginning, they were also a part of the martial artists. But because of their different starting points, they had a different understanding of the body, the spirit, and the illusory soul and embarked on a different path. Alas, in the end, they still couldn't break through the shackles. Why are you asking so many questions? Gizershur said impatiently, give me your right hand. I'm just curious. Lu Qing smiled awkwardly and slowly raised his right hand. Gizershur extended 3 fingers and placed them on his pulse. His half-closed eyes glowed with a faint blue light. He then pinched the wound and said, fortunately, you can't be a one-armed hero. You don't even need acupuncture. Take this ointment and apply it. After a week, you'll be able to start practicing your strength. A week from today. Lu Qing asked for confirmation. In other words, his remaining 3.5 days of recovery had been extended to a week. Isn't that obvious? Gizershur glared at him. Go do what you need to do. After leaving the classroom apartment and the building, Lu Cheng's face slowly darkened. The unexpected news from his master had put a heavy psychological burden on him. I wonder if Longhu Immortal is the original owner of the Jin Dan in my stomach. I wonder if Master's friends can find the Immortal Cultivator's mansion hidden in Weishui Lake. I wonder if they can find clues and trace it back to me. When I threw the black carp back into the lake, if it hadn't completely rotted and been eaten by other creatures, the traces would be obvious. But there are tens of thousands of students in the new campus, and more than half a year has passed. No matter how strong the supernatural ability is, they won't be able to suspect me from the black carp. I can't rush or panic, lest I give myself away. I'll pretend I don't know anything and live my life as usual. Well, I'll find a chance to squeeze the Jin Dan and see if I can awaken the supernatural ability of Frost. That way, even if I'm found and the Jin Dan is taken away, I'll have something of my own. For Master's sake, they won't do anything to me. The reason why he wanted to awaken the supernatural ability of Frost instead of strengthening the power of Flame was because his master's martial arts belonged to the unique Ice sect. If he had the supernatural ability of Frost, it would be much easier for him to practice. After making the decision, Lu Qing had more or less regained his composure. This was the best he could do with his own abilities. After pocketing the ointment, he grabbed the martial arts suit and other items that he did not put back in the dormitory with his right hand and rushed straight to the 3rd teaching building. As for the books and other things, he had already asked Xiao Ming to help him bring them. Just in case. At this moment, his phone rang. He took it out and saw that it was a call from Kai Zongming. F***CK, don't tell me they're taking attendance in advance. Lu Qing picked up the call in shock. Qing, you're so F***king awesome. Kai Zongming scolded him without hesitation. Lu Qing was confused. What's wrong with me? You're still pretending. That's what you get for pretending. Someone posted the video. I don't know about others, but I'll recognize you even if you turn into ashes. Kai Zongming scolded him. Video. Lu Qing roughly understood what talker was talking about. He blurted out, who would take videos at that time? Kai Zongming chuckled. You're not new to the internet. Don't you know that some people will take a few selfies and post them on Weibo, talk about it, or moments? It's their instinct to take pictures and videos when they encounter a situation. But they probably didn't expect someone to catch them, so the focus is on the boy who jumped off the building. You're a little blurry in the picture, and you don't show your face much. People who aren't familiar with you probably won't recognize you. Hee hee. Do you need me, an insider, to expose you? He said excitedly, you're so awesome. You can catch someone who jumped off the 7th floor. I'm a little impressed, and I'm looking forward to it. Cheng, you're famous in school. I heard a lot of students talking about you on the way. They think you're so cool, and they're all looking forward to becoming a professional martial artist. Okay, I'll stop talking. Professor Chu is here. I think he's going to take a roll call. Hurry up. There aren't a lot of people today. I don't dare to answer for you. Lu Qing was happy at first, but he was stunned by the end of the conversation. "Talker, put your head in front of me later." "Why?" Kai Zhongming was puzzled. "I'm going to strangle you." Lu Qing gritted his teeth. "I would have arrived if you hadn't called me." The teacher's apartment was not far from the teaching building. With his current running speed and insane stamina, he could reach the third teaching building in 2 or 3 minutes. But he didn't have the ability to answer a call while running. Kai Zhongming was silent for a few seconds. "Good luck." After that, he quickly hung up the phone. Shi Xiangyang took a beautiful afternoon nap. When she heard the alarm, she turned over and sat up. After tidying up for a while, she slowly climbed out of bed and said to Li Liantong, who was watching cartoons, "Dirty Tong, it's almost time to go." "Okay." Li Liantong turned off the computer and tidied her hair.